In the beginning, God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." And truth be told, it was what happened. From the creation of fire till today's time, men have crawled and maneuvered themselves onto dominating everything that was given in order to survive. And with the expansion and continuous modification of technology, wider opportunities were handed off for men to discover and maximize the benefits of the available resource to ensure survival and to close any small possibility of extinction. This has been always what men aim, and it is through this ambition that bioprospecting was discovered.
Have you ever wondered where these paracetamol and cosmetic products came from? Or how companies discovered and produced a new line of makeup and medicines? So in this video, we are going to show and give you information on how they discovered and produced this kind of products through the process called bioprospecting. So what exactly is bioprospecting? We're familiar with this. Can I ask you guys a question? Do you know anything about bioprospecting? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Can I ask you what do you know anything about bioprospecting? Yeah,
Sorry po. Pag-utilize mga different plants or siguro animal parts and make it medicine or anything useful.
Same.
Okay,
Thank you so much. Pero may ano.
Oh my God! Madala ito may alam. Magagod ko. Oh girl!
Bioprospecting.
Bioprospecting or biodiversity prospecting is the exploration and extraction from the biological materials for commercial use and purposes. For example, in cosmetics or in pharmaceutical purposes. Valuable chemical compounds are extracted from the nature, from the plants, animals, and microorganisms. With the advances of technology, more sophisticated diagnostic tools are used to extract biological specimens.
Ano po ba yung bioprospecting?
Okay. From the word itself, bio means life, you know already, di ba? Prospecting, yun kasi nagpa-prospect tayo na may magawa tayong gamot out of that bio, out of living things. Now, ano mga living things? Plants, animals, microorganism. So, we are trying to develop, di ba? To develop, to collect, to extract drugs from those, what do you call this? Those plants, animals, and microorganisms. Yun ang bioprospecting. Nagpo-prospect tayo. Something from life. Okay?
What is bioprospecting?
Okay. Right. Bioprospecting, as defined in our policy, we have a policy on guidelines for bioprospecting in the Philippines that is signed by the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Palawan Council for Sustainable Development, the Department of Agriculture, and the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. And by that policy, we define bioprospecting as the collection and utilization and research undertaken on biological organisms for commercial research purposes. So, meaning the keyword there is commercial research. So, non-commercial research, I mean for academic purposes, for taxonomic purposes, they're not considered prospecting.
What are the technologies that are used in bioprospecting po? Kunwari po, magkakandak po kayo ng research para po about sa certain plants. Ano pong ginagamit na
Kasi
technology?
kung yung methodology, kasi may methodology, may methods and procedures in conducting prospecting drugs from life, okay? So, unang-una, we have to collect, to dry, then to extract, then quality control, bago tayo gagawa ng dosage form. So, iti-test pa yan sa animals, then sa life. So, bago pa mai-market.
Bioprospecting serves as the force that fuels the invention of new medicines and new cosmetic products. But, just like what Uncle Ben says, with great power comes with great responsibility. So now, let's check out the law that governs bioprospecting here in the Philippines.
The law that allows the practice of bioprospecting in the Philippines is the Executive Order Number 247, which was approved by former President Fidel P. Ramos. The law encompasses guidelines and an established regulatory framework for prospecting natural and biological resources, their byproducts and derivatives, for commercial and scientific purposes, and for other purposes, so as to meet the objective of protecting the wildlife, flora and fauna owned by the state. This is also done to ensure the proper regulation of research, collection, and use of species, and the proper identification of the rights of the indigenous cultural communities to their traditional knowledge and practices that is put to commercial use. This is separately emphasized on the Section 2 of the Executive Order Number 247. Failure to comply to this would mean perpetual ban on the practice of prospecting here in the Philippines. However, given the effectivity and scope of the executive order, limitations were still existent. One of these is the unclear stand of the executive order when it comes to the exploitation of human genetic materials. In effect, this is seen as an opportunity by third parties to exploit human genetic materials from indigenous cultural groups for research regarding their ability to withstand and resist certain illnesses.
Executive Order 247, that was the first bioprospecting policy that we have in the Philippines. But that was updated in 2004. Kasi when we have this wildlife act in 2001, um, dinefine na yung bioprospecting ulit. Redefined bioprospecting. Because in the EU 247, it defined bioprospecting as the use of biological resource for commercial and non-commercial research. So pati yung academic research kasama na. So sa wildlife act, sinabi nga, no, bioprospecting should only cover commercial research, and that academic researchers should be governed by other simpler permits. For the convention on biological diversity, we have what we call the Nagoya Protocol. The Nagoya Protocol on access and benefit sharing. The protocol on access and benefit sharing. The protocol on access and benefit sharing provides the guidelines that all states should follow in developing their national guidelines on access and benefit sharing. So para merong uniformity. Some countries could be more stricter, may lesser requirements, but yung mga fundamental guidance and principles ay nandun sa protocol on access and benefit sharing under the Convention on Biological Diversity.
Bioprospecting has its own advantages and disadvantages. One of its pros is that bioprospecting can generate income for the developing countries. And at the same time, it can provide incentives for the conservation of the biological resources and biodiversity. In addition, it can lead to development of new products and new medicines. But on the other hand, if not well managed, bioprospecting may create a number of problems, including environmental problems related to unauthorized or overexploitation, social and economic problems related to unfair benefit sharing or total absence of benefit sharing, and lastly, disrespect to the rights, knowledge, and dignity of local communities. In today's time, pirates are on the loose. They do not only exist on seas, but hence, they are already on our lands. I am not talking about those who resell and reproduce movies without proper authorization, but those who steal knowledge about nature which originated from our indigenous people and making profit out of it. There are more issues about bioprospecting. And now, let us further dig into the local and global societal issues that our world is facing today.
What is biopiracy, you might ask? Well, biopiracy is the practice of commercially exploiting naturally occurring biochemical and genetic material, especially by obtaining patents which restrict its future use, while failing to pay fair compensation to the community from which it originates. This is a very pressing issue that is rampant not only in the local setting but also in the global one. However, let us first dig in the local setting. Biopiracy doesn't only harm our nation's biodiversity, it also targets our very own people. It robs us from our own rights and even affects our living patterns.
One instance is the theft of an antibiotic drug from a microorganism which was isolated from a soil in a cemetery in Iloilo in 1949 by a Filipino scientist named Abelardo Aguilar, who hailed from the province. He worked for Eli Lilly Company, which is one of the biggest pharmaceutical company in the United States. However, as he discovered the drug and made use of it to produce erythromycin, never did he receive any centavo from it, even with the help of our government's intervention. Now, Eli Lilly Company owns the patent for the soil isolate and earns $120 million yearly. Another instance is the discovery of SNX3, which is known as the most powerful painkiller ever discovered. This is actually a product of peptides from the Philippine sea snail that can be found in Palawan. However, it was again patented, and the Philippines didn't even receive a centavo from it. There are still many other cases of biopiracy here in the Philippines. Nevertheless, let us now proceed to its implication in the global setting.
Global consequences of biopiracy encompasses a litany of issues, including lack of access to medicines, failure to compensate for valuable traditional knowledge, and depletion of biodiversity resources that are needed by those indigenous communities for their own healthcare. Moreover, most of the rich countries run down those poor countries who have rich biodiversity and makes these environmental areas as a well-formed hunting ground for those biopirates. This results in inequality, and it can be gathered that those rich countries gets even richer while those poor countries gets even poorer. What makes it even worse is that the development of those rich countries is a result of harming those already poor countries.
Otherwise, we'll go back to the time when, like the example of the Illusion, the erythromycin, which was sourced in the Philippines in Iloilo years back and developed by the pharmaceutical company. We did not have there's no way to claim for benefits because at that time there was no international policy on access and benefit sharing biological resources. So now we have this national policy, the bioprospecting guidance is that we are reviewing to safeguard our interest on the use of biological resources by foreign researchers in the country. Unfortunately, kasi hindi pa ganun kalakas yung capacity, national capacity to undertake this commercial research undertakings in the country. Kaya nangunguna pa rin yung ibang bansa. So ang nangyayari, we are sort of a research provider than a user. The greatest concern that every country is really working on is the issue on access and benefit sharing. Sa Convention on Biological Diversity kasi sinasabi doon na well, yes, a country can allow the use of its biological resources by a foreign institution, but then that benefit sharing should be assured. Yeah, as I was saying, that yung greatest concern na natin is, how could we ensure or how should we put up this mechanism in such a way that we can track all research activities conducted, and then we'll be able to know if these specimens collected from the country being used for research is progressing into developing the development of products, novel products, such that at the end we can demand for claims for benefits like sa ating kasing bioprospecting guidelines nakalagay doon na dapat meron tayong royalty that shall accrue to the government into the resource provider communities. So paano yun, no? Sa international patenting laws ngayon, ang concern kasi is that nagpa-patent na yung mga companies, no? But then wala doon kasi yung requirement that they need to declare the country of origin of the biological resource that they are using. It's not a requirement, and it's a very long negotiation in the World Intellectual Property Office. Kasi may mga bansa na ayaw nila na i-require yung tinatawag na uh, ano ba yung exact term, about the declaration of origin. Yung requirement na yun.
It never occurred to me that all those cosmetic products I've been loving could actually be something that could harm our biodiversity. Normally, with one product that has the natural label in it, not just in cosmetic products but in a whole variety of products as well. However, we don't realize that in the long run, if not handled or managed properly, it can actually cause a whole lot of harm to our biodiversity. Another thing is that some of those well-known medicines that we've been using and has helped a lot of people were actually a discovery of our fellow Filipinos. And it's sad, really. It's not just the money that was robbed from them, but most importantly, the recognition that they rightfully deserve. I wondered what could have happened if biopiracy was never a thing. Those people won't be the only one to be given recognition to, but also our country, and we might actually be able to keep up with the progress of other nations' economy. In line with these realizations, I plan on sharing this knowledge to other people together with my group mates, because being educated with these things could be of great help to address these issues.
It has came to a point that we have been devoured fully by our aim to discover and maximize the fullest potential of what God has given. That it came to a point that we have been blinded by the consequences of our greed to be complemented by others. What I realize in this is that we should not forget to recognize and of course accreditate the indigenous knowledge which was used to transform and develop pharmaceutical developments. Likewise, it is just as important for everyone to be conscious of the limitations that should be considered as they venture and utilize the wildlife, flora, and fauna owned by the state. Under this is the responsibility that we should be knowledgeable and be disciplined of not including endangered plants and animals in researches, as this widens the possibility that they might extinct. We are, after all, dominators of the creation, but it doesn't mean that we are allowed to use it recklessly in our own will.
In our daily lives, we always consume vitamins and medicines, and some of us use cosmetic products. But little did we know that some of those products are discovered and developed through theft and through piracy. Throughout my whole life, I never wondered how medicines were made. I just thought that it is simply a product of manufacturing different kinds of ingredients. But through digging deeper within the process of discovering and developing such things, it occurred to me that not all of us reaps the benefit from those medicines and cosmetic products. It came to me that some of us, most especially our indigenous people, were abused and robbed by some companies by getting their knowledge without giving them any payment or credits that they are entitled to. To address this issue, as a student, raising awareness about this will help to mitigate this kind of unethical practice. After all, having knowledge about something is necessary for us to truly lead our nation to growth and progress.
Our environment has been a main source of our needs and wants. We extract and exploit our nation as we continue our own endeavors, with people's desire for more and negligence of the people lead to the exploitation and deterioration of the environment. What I have learned is that we need to be responsible enough to cite sources whenever it may came from indigenous people or local researchers, and be responsible users of information. Bioprospecting is a tool in search of the betterment for the lives of the people. As we continue to elevate our way of living through research, we also need to be reminded about the responsibility it entails us and responsibility to the nature. We are the stewards of this world, and we should know how to use and respect our own nature and respect the people who are protecting it.